stop it or minimize it. And what the school is doing to prevent and minimize bullying. And it was very, very informative. And the three ladies that did the presentation did an excellent job, and I commend them for it. We have a very full agenda this evening, so I will make it short and just wish all of you and your loved ones a very happy and joyful holiday season this year from myself and the board. Citizens' comments at this time, I'll limit them to 3 minutes. Please state your name and address. Do you have any citizens' comments at this time? Hearing none, we'll go on to our student liaison.
Kathy,
We do have one.
can I ask if under old business, we could add the elementary school playground and the high school weight room?
Under old business?
Yes.
Okay, can I have a motion to add the high school playground and the elementary school playground? And what was the other item?
The high school weight room?
High school. Okay,
Yes.
I have, you're making that motion?
Yes, please.
Okay, second. I'll second it. Okay, all in favor of adding those items to old business?
Aye.
Okay, any opposition, say no? None, we'll add that, that'll be item A and B. And just remember, we have two men, we have Danielle and is Val on there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. We have two members of the board on Zoom, so thank you. All right, those have been added to old business. Okay. All right, hearing none, we'll go to the student spotlight and the high school liaison report.
Good evening, everyone. Some current events for the month of December. The 1st, we had the winter concert. The 6th was ASVAB testing and the Mary Poppins auditions. This week, the music department is hosting a gingerbread house competition. Later this week starts the Spirit Week in the high school. On Friday, the leadership team has an in-service meeting. On the 19th, the TMHS library is running a holiday book swap. The 20th is the SSA holiday pep rally. The 21st is a Pride Day. The 22nd of December through the 2nd of January is winter break. And the 3rd of January is professional development for teachers. The 4th of January is intercession. The 6th and 7th of January are the CMEA All Eastern competitions. The 11th, the TSLT hosts a booth at the Regional Parent Expo at Putnam Middle School. And the 13th, the FBLA is hosting a college panel for Turtle Out seniors. We received 2 student voice forms this month. First, a student wrote a voice form speaking on the cold temperatures in the classroom. Specifically on Monday the 5th, classrooms in the new wing had temperatures ranging from 45 to 55 degrees. There was reportedly a boiler failure that day, and it is understood that the temperature of classrooms is a yearly issue. However, students are wondering if there are any long-term solutions, such as better insulated windows. Another student voice form expressed continued concerns regarding this year's new 70% summative / 30% formative grading policy for all high school classes. The student noted that in some classes, there might be only 1 or 2 summative assessments in a quarter. These assessments can have a significant negative impact on the quarter grades. Several students agreed to having similar experiences in their classes. Students also reported that some teachers categorize projects and other major assignments as summative, while others only include tests in that category. There is a lot of anxiety with grades for this reason. Any questions from the board? Any comments? Thank you.
To address some of that student voice, if you want to give them.
Dr. Mayo, do you have anything to say?
I would just say that I spoke to staff about how many assignments. The 70-30 is a universal grading policy. Every high school has one. I think the students, and as I've said to students before, they don't understand. Some classes were 80-20, other classes were 60-40. We met in the middle, made every class grade the same way so that there's transparency to grading in the high school. So teachers and parents can understand their communication around grades. So it's just-
And
it's just a gift.
this is being followed
Across the board.
unilaterally in the high school
Yeah.
now.
That's it.
I understand it's a change, so it's something that they need to get used to.
And to be honest with you, our first quarter, we have more students on our roll than we had last year. So, yeah, there's no issues.
All right, I know change is difficult.
And I think they were aware previously of what the teachers graded, so they assume that certain things happened, and I talked to the teachers in a different way, so it's just a way to bring everyone to a middle.
As long as it's being followed uniformly among all the teachers.
Getting everyone on the same page with grading. It takes time, and certainly communicating that to our faculty and staff so that they are also on the same page with how they're grading the 70 weight versus the 30 weight. And they're working through that. And I think better communication among the students might be helpful, especially as we go on to the second semester. But I do agree with Dr. Mayo. There are more students on honor roll than there ever has been. So I do believe that the students are now putting a more important focus on the grades, which is a good thing. And so working the bugs out, I think is going to be a year-long process until everybody has the change streamlined.
Melinda, regarding the boiler situation, I think it'd be safe to say, as part of the building committee, that is this part of the issue where the parts are not readily available? And we are we're repairing as we go along from other parts of boilers, is that right?
Yeah, Bill has a vacation day today, but I'm going to answer for him and not do justice to the correct answer. But we have had some issues, mechanical issues in the building. There was some issues with the new furnace, and come to find out there was a fuel pump malfunction to the new boiler, which was shutting off the burner. And although the plumber or whatever, the boiler company came out and repaired it, what was concerning to Bill was they couldn't get to the root of why the burner kept shutting off. So that made those classrooms additionally cold. What we found out was it was the fuel pump that needed to be replaced. And so that is on order, and I don't know if that has been changed out yet, but the temperature at the high school has improved drastically. It was freezing. It was freezing in Shannon's office. That whole senior wing was cold. We've always had fluctuations in the heat all over the campus, but this was very noticeable and it was very cold. As a matter of fact, Dr. Mayo had to move some classes. We also had problems in the elementary school in Kayleen's wing, and we found out there was another issue, a valve or something that needed to be replaced. And in one case, something was shut off and no one knows why. That has since been repaired and that heat has come back up. But there were a couple of days that when the temperature started to dip, it was really cold. But that one particular day at the high school, that voice form is spot on. It was freezing. Yeah, so we're hoping, but overall, that whole assessment that we just did on the HVAC system did root out all problems.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Comments from our Zoom members? Okay. All right. Continue. Students?
The student spotlight for this month wasn't able to make it, so that's all.
Oh, okay. All right, then I'm going to move on to the approval of the minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes of our November 14th minutes.
Motion.
Okay, and Heather second. All right, discussion. Linda, have something to say? You didn't pick it up. I missed it. You missed it. Well, you can tell I'm sick. It's a typo, okay. And also I do have another. Okay, and I also have a comment to make. I do want to retract a statement on ADA compliances. After the meeting, our first select person, Amy St. Ange, did text me to say that even though you can't tell when you drive by, it looks like some of the telephone poles are in the center. They are ADA compliant. So, correct that. Okay, so any other comments to be made on the discussion on the minutes? None, hearing none. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as revised? Say aye. Any, all those opposed, all those opposed say no. Any abstentions? None? Okay, minutes pass unanimously. Okay. The next item on the agenda is a subcommittee update. But we're going to get to that later. I mean, we did have a subcommittee.
Right. So we had a subcommittee meeting, the policy subcommittee. We went through 7 or 8 over the course of the month, over the course of 2 meetings. All the policies listed on our agenda, and we can discuss those at that new business, but they're all either there's some new ones. These are all based on state statutes and state laws, or just revisions for technical placements and things like that. So they're all in our packet, so yeah, discuss them later.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll turn it over to the superintendent now for our enrollment.
So at Mary Fisher Elementary School this month, as of the 1st of December, we had 391 students. That's an increase of 1 student at that school. At Thompson Middle School, we have remained steady for the past 3 months, 286 students. And at the high school, we have a reduction of 2 students to 221. Leaving us with a total of 900 students. A couple of those high school students, or at least one I know, another one's going to be withdrawing because we found them a non-resident. So thanks to our security team who went out and did some truancy checks and some, keen eyes up at the high school, we were able to identify that particular student doesn't live in town. So after the holidays won't be returning. So you'll see that number go down next month. And it's because it's a non-resident student. All in all, we have 900 students in Thompson Public Schools.
Typically, we do this report as of June 30th of the previous year. We've got it as of August 3rd.
Well, she carried that over because as of August 3rd, she just pulled that over and then she started the September report. So we do have a column that you can't see here that we can unhide and put the June 30th information there so you can see from last year. I'll have her add that.
That's more sense. Thank you. We're going to present the Pride program.
So I'm really pleased to introduce Dr. Mayo and his team, and I'm going to let him introduce the Pride program at the high school. And then also the Tiger Pals program, 2 new initiatives this year that I think Dr. Mayo and his team are very proud of and are very successful. So I'm going to turn it over to the high school.
And I'm not handing over myself.
Wow.
No, but I think that we spent a lot of time this summer. I'm very, very lucky, as I said, last month's meeting, to have extremely dedicated staff up at the high school. And 2 of those extremely dedicated people here tonight, obviously, Ms. Cindy Olet and Mr. Shubai. I'm going to talk to you about Pride and about Tiger Pals, 2 initiatives that we're, I think, very, very excited about. So, and we have some students here too to speak about them as well. Some of our Tigers. I'm very, very excited. So I'm handing over to Ms. Olet. Thank you.
I will say a few words before I hand it over to the students. I'm going to talk about Pride Day, and we figured we divide and conquer tonight, Trish and I. I'm going to talk about Pride Day, and Trish's going to talk about Tiger Pals too, as was mentioned, 2 new initiatives up at the high school. Our leadership team, headed up by Dr. Mayo, last winter. Really, I think it was the brainchild of Deb Spinelli and Dr. Mayo together, was this whole idea of Pride Day, and the leadership team kind of took it and ran with it. Really stemming from the Portrait of a Graduate, as much of our work this year is really focusing on how we can build programs around Thompson's Portrait of a Graduate. And so Pride Day was born. Pride Day is once a month at the high school during our half days. We've had a couple of, we call them fake Pride Days, but we had one, for example, on the day before Thanksgiving break. But our Pride Days consist of 3 components. The first is called Connections. And during Connections, we focus on programming related to Portrait of a Graduate, including our capstone experience. This is where students are learning about the capstone experience and how to meet their capstone experience expectations, as well as the digital portfolio for 11th and 12th graders. We're also building in career exploration components. And it's really, based on the need to, have students connected with a staff person who they will be with for, if they're a freshman, for the next 4 years. So really building those connections. We also have an SEL component each time. We call it an icebreaker, but it's building relationships within the building, which we all know is so important. So after Connections, students then pass to what we're calling Collaborative, which is a totally brand new piece, really inspired by the POG, where students are doing a student-initiated project with a staff person that has to be community connected, which of course is one of our POG pillars. And so these student-initiated projects overseen by a staff person have begun, and we've got some really great ideas that the students are going to talk to you about. We have 2 students here tonight that will talk to you about Collaborative. We originally had a little bit bigger of a crowd, but as you know, we have a lot of sick kiddos these days. So a couple weren't able to make it tonight. They're absent from school today, but they'll talk to you about that in just a second. But at the last portion of our day, we have activity, which we had a few years ago, but it's really just a fun time for students to interact with teachers and different types of activities. Of course, Deb runs athletics in the gym. We had a 3-on-3 basketball tournament last month. We've had volleyball. Next month is dodgeball, which of course is super fun, and then all kinds of different activities, karaoke, and just another way for students to connect with teachers and have that additional person in the building that they have a bond with. So I guess I'm a little biased, but I think Pride Day is going really well, but we'll have the students get up and tell you a little bit about their collaboratives, that student-initiated, student-directed project that is community connected. So start with next.
My name is Jackson Santos, and my collaborative group is focusing on helping the fire department, the one down the hill, and we are gonna be doing a car show. We're gonna try to raise money through that and then give it to whatever the fire station at the bottom of the hill needs, because we know they're having some problems down there. So we plan to have this on around April 22nd or a rain day of April 23rd. So, and all the money will go to the fire department. there'll be awards and prizes. It'll be $10 for a car to get in. We might make baked goods to sell there as well to just try to get more money. We'll have music, probably get pictures, and we've been making flyers and we're gonna put them around town and like restaurants and all other places. So yeah.
And another student here to talk about their collaborative project is senior Haley Malarsian.
My name is David Blarge and I'm a contacts manager for my group, and our group is initiating Operation Firehouse, which is where we are going to go directly to the fire departments and we're going to help them clean up, because as you know, we are all volunteer-based fire departments, and in doing so, obviously they have tasks that they have to keep up on. And since they're not all there full time, it's kind of hard to keep up. So we reached out to the chief at Thompson Hill Fire Department. He let us do the first, I guess, test run, and we're gonna go there on December 22nd. Is that our project? 21st. We're gonna go there on December 21st, and we're gonna clean out the bays and the meeting room and all that stuff. And if all goes well, we're gonna reach out to Winnie again, which we already have, and we have flyers. And so if that goes successfully, we're reaching towards either East Thompson Fire Department or Quinnebog, because they also do a lot for our school directly. So we just want to kind of give back to them for everything that they've done for us.
Lots of different projects. You can imagine these are just 2 projects of how many collaborative groups we have? I asked her because she made the groups this summer. So 16 collaborative groups. My group, we walked down the hill to Teague and helped with organizing food for the holiday. They did a food drive, and we walked it down the hill with carts, and we're going back in December to help with this holiday preparation. And then we're working with Teague to maybe do a community yard sale in the spring. So that times each of those groups, it's been really invigorating, inspiring. The kids are just stepping right up and doing some really great things. So this all of these projects will be exhibited at the end of the year prior to our scholarship and awards night. So hopefully we'll get to see you there, and you'll get to see their many exhibitions of their collaborative projects, which I'm sure they'll be very proud of, as we will be. So,
Cindy, could we have a little idea of what the other projects
yeah,
are?
you know, between
Sure. My group's doing Midnight Madness for the high school students. So on March 10th is the scheduled date for that. Some other groups are doing reading down in elementary school. Every other month, they're going down and volunteering there and reading side by side with the students. Some of the others are the letters to current soldiers overseas that have been signed by students in the building and being sent out. Some other ones.
We also have they're filming the group that's putting together video of the Tourlet Museum. And they're doing a voiceover, so a video tour with an overview and some music, as well as a social media campaign to promote the Tourlet Museum. Another one is going to the dam. They're going to do a historical video on the Tourlet Dam, as well as one of the train. I think one of the train one is going to be, they're going to create a historical video based upon that. So it's not just community service. It's either they have community service, or they have to talk about Thompson in the past, which is the students make a connection with the history of the town.
Some of them did raking on the property to clean out our courtyard to make it more presentable for
ones that just doing like a random acts of kindness.
different ones every month.
Yeah, so it's good stuff.
A lot of good things. Any other questions?
No, all very worthwhile projects.
And there are 17 activity groups as well that she spoke about. From everything, like she said, the karaoke, we have 3 ingredients, we have automotive, we have classic rock, we have heavy rock, we have Jeopardy and Cahoots, mindfulness and do-it-yourself stress release, open art, sports talk, travel, weight room. So there's something for everybody.
Thank you.
So next up is Tiger Pals. Tiger Pals is a program that is also community connected with the POG. We realized that our freshmen and sophomore need to do 10 hours of community service, and they don't usually drive at that age. So we try to figure out something to do on campus. Larry Prentice and his social worker presented a thought to do some mentoring, and we had a couple of meetings. Dr. Mayo, Cindy, Haley, our social worker, and myself, and we kind of collaborated and tried to figure out the best way to suit the need for it in the district. So our kids, we trained 14 total. There are 11 going down this semester, and they're assisting with anything academic. They can be group sessions within the classroom, individual help, catching up on any missed assignments, doing things like math drills or reading one-on-one with the children. Sometimes they do lunch and help to model good behavior in the lunchroom. They go out to recess and make sure that everybody's engaged because all the little kids want to hang out with their Tiger Pal big friends. So we're in 1 first grade class, 3 third grade classrooms, 2 fourth grade classrooms, along with the life skills room. The high school kids come in and sign out of their study hall, sign out of the building, get the badge so that they can go down to the elementary school. When they come back up and return the badge, they make a journal entry to document what they did. They answer some questions about what the challenges were, what the successes were, what they liked about the event. We also have Kayleen Taft here that's going to say a few words, and then I'm going to invite up Lindsay and Jackson.
Sure. I wrote down some notes just because if you were privy to my last couple of days, I didn't want to leave anything to chance. Let me just start by saying that our district is so unique, and I have not participated in any kind of collaboration between the elementary school and the high school before. And my students are now doing junior achievement and participating in the Tiger Pals, and it's amazing. It's amazing that we can have students with older siblings that are coming down, former students, all that great stuff. So I just wanted to start with that. So thank you for offering that to us. The students that come down are incredibly responsible. They're punctual, they're respectful. If I'm teaching when they enter the classroom, you know, they're extremely quiet, they'll wait. Especially like from the middle of instruction. Some of the things that I've noticed when they come in to volunteer is that they take initiative. Those students come right on in. You know, they'll ask what I need, but if I don't respond right away, they're not sitting around waiting. They're just jumping right in, helping students with everything and anything. They're not afraid to ask questions. So this all really speaks to the training that they've had. They take direction. They're sensitive to the students that they're working with, and they're adjusting. You know, they're not like, oh, this is just how I'm going to say something, and I say it that way to every person I encounter in the classroom. So their flexibility has been amazing. They are strong role models for the third graders. You know, the students are really looking up to them. And it's incorporating social skills and interactions on both sides, which during this whole COVID phase have been, you know, desperate need. It also is an opportunity for me to get to work with former students and see them in leadership roles, which is amazing after all these years have passed. And it gives an opportunity for those positive role models for the younger kids to see what they could do. I told my students that I was going to be sharing all of this with you, and I asked them if there's any feedback that they wanted to share. And so just a couple comments from them. So some of my kids said, well, they are very nice and kind to us. They're helping us spell and try to get better at stuff. Somebody said, it's nice to have someone who's not the teacher help us when we're stuck, which is great. You know, sometimes it can make them not afraid to ask those questions. We get to see our high school friends because not only do they have siblings, but, you know, friends of their siblings. They're very helpful. It's good because we can have somebody by my side. When I get older, I want to help little kids too. And they're welcome to our class anytime they want because they're good friends to us. So it really has been an amazing experience. Yeah, you know, I was like, what? So thank you. I just wanted to share.
And to piggyback on that, I know that Melinda has posted the little note that we got from the first grade classroom. So they were putting up acts of kindness on a Dr. Seuss's Grinch on their classroom door, and they put up the act of kindness as the Tiger Pals. So it was really very sweet. We also had the Tiger Pals volunteer for the hot cocoa and assisted Santa with cookies and cocoa distribution on Friday. So I'd like to call up Lindsay and Jackson and say a word or two about the program. Lindsay was also on Winnie last week, so if you haven't caught it, our video's out there, it's Lindsay engaged. Thanks a lot, Lindsay.
Yeah, I like the Tiger Palace program. Every time you walk into the classroom, you can tell the kids really like when you're there and they enjoy your time. And they want to work with you. Once you walk in, they come up to you. They want to get their makeup work done, and they pay attention to what you're telling them. And they try to learn on what they need to do to get better at it.
Yeah, like I had 2 kids today who I was working with them, and I didn't even have to like ask them to try to do their work. They just did it on their own because they wanted me to be impressed with them. And I was, because it meant a lot to me that they were willing to get it done without me having to tell them multiple times to like, okay, can you like focus on what we're doing? They just sit down and get it done. And they were coloring today, and I was able to talk to them and like get to know them more. And it felt nice because they got really excited because I was talking to this one girl who just got a dog. She was really excited. And I was asking her questions about the dog. She just had the biggest smile on her face, and it meant a lot to me.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions about Tiger Pals?
I wanted to just credit Owen Bell as well. One of our high school students created the logo for Tiger Pals, which will be coming soon. I'm thinking of the byline might be someone by your side. I like that.
Yes. So we're hoping to expand it, and we're opening it up again to the elementary teachers at one of their faculty meetings. And we're training more people. We sent out recruitment letters today so that we can fill the needs, because sometimes they're fighting on the calendar who gets what time slots. So we're trying to make sure everybody gets a couple of Tiger Pals every week.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. We're taking advantage of our configuration, right? That we're all on one campus. We can do this. And you figured out a way that, it's not impacting any of the academics up at the high school. And then the students can come down and work in classrooms. And the students that have been doing it, obviously, I think that training session was a stroke of genius so that they knew what they were walking into. So credit to you all at the high school for putting that together. And I know Mr. Prentice has been talking a lot about Tiger Pals, and excited to have the students down there.
And the last person we need to credit is from T, who also came over. It was Jill that came over and helped train as well. Thank you.
Okay, any of the board have questions on any of that?
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it does. It both sound like very tremendous programs, so thank you
It's
all
almost
for
like a
that.
big brother, big sister program, without the term, but very nice.
I don't know if you want.
Hold on.
Yeah, students can leave, the liaisons can go home, do your homework. You've got a busy month this month, all those things you read off. So fortunately, you're his ride.
Yeah,
huh?
Bring a computer.
All right. Well, now we'll start with the administrative report. Dr. Mayo, please.
All right, basically, just to reiterate some of the things that Evan said, we had excellent winter concert. And prior to that, I think that our meeting was prior to TGT, but TGT was a high success this year. In fact, 3 of the winners, like the first 2 5, Simulette and Deb, Spinelli ended up winning, which was nice and just breaking kids' hearts. Which is great. But I know we're good. Thank you. I want to just congratulate Melina, who was our Thompson student of the month. She was ill. That's why she's not here. So I didn't read her. It wasn't a thing, but I think she's an excellent representative of the high school. And and I'm really proud of all that she's accomplished and that. Also, at her being the student of the month, I just want to recognize that she isn't here, but I think all my students. And last but not least, I just obviously want to wish everyone here, board members, the happiest of holidays and a healthy and prosperous New Year's.
Thank you. Ms. Granado?
Hello, everyone, and same, I wish everyone on behalf of the faculty and staff at middle school, we wish everyone a happy birthday. So we've had some exciting things at the middle school this past month. Our POG definitely community connecting. I think one of the things that has really touched all of our hearts, I'd like to just give you a little glimpse, is the staff at TMS and student council have received many thank you letters from our veterans expressing their appreciation for the Veterans Day Assembly that was held on November 10th. It was a beautiful ceremony honoring the veterans. It was really, you can't see from here, but the veterans sent us pictures of them opening all of their letters, and some of the words that they expressed was really nice. And I think that meant a lot to our students that, you know, oftentimes we do these cards, but they don't receive back how much it's meaningful to them. So again, thank you to Erica Grell for putting that on, and the student council. I think another community-centered event that happened this past month was that our National Junior Honor Society did a food drive and was able to go down to Teague and see how the operations that involved in creating those baskets and goods for the families in need. So it was very questionable on them. I want to thank my faculty and staff for planning a holiday celebration. Of course, I feel like the Grinch that stole Christmas right now, but we did send an email out. We have a lot of sickness, and so we had to make a decision, and with our nurse and staff today, we decided to postpone it until after Christmas, because the whole idea was that everyone would be able to come and celebrate for their hard work and dedication. And we just felt that so many kids are sick and staff. So we are postponing it, but we're very excited to hold it and want as many kids as possible. Again, kudos to our staff, because we raised money through our volleyball game, staff against students, and that was going to fund their pizza and crafts, so giving back to our students. So a lot going on at the middle school, and we have our concert tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you.
Mr. Prentice.
Hi guys, how are we doing? Shout out to the PTO for Breakfast with Santa. I think probably the most people we've ever had at Breakfast with Santa.
One of our largest.
Just a tremendous turnout. Great job to the community. Shout out to the kids who did the auditions for Mary Poppins. What a neat little experience for those kids. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of guts to get up there for a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid. But they did a really nice job.
And Principal Prentice, we have Mary sitting with us right now. Mary, how are you?
Well done on your end, too. Welcome to Heather Bruno, our new ELL teacher. She's joining us a couple of days ago. Shout out to our attendance team. We've developed a new attendance incentive at the elementary school. We understand perfect attendance is that's not the goal. It's about good, improved attendance. You don't want kids coming to school sick. PJ Day was held on December 9th. Shout out to Andrea Tomeo. Gathered a lot of pajamas, brought them down to Teague. Had her 3- and 4-year-olds walking right down the Teague. Absolutely adorable. What a nice thing. PBIS team, shout out to them. On November 22nd, they held a harvest lunch. I'm not sure if I shared this with you last board event meeting, but it was a great experience for the kids. What a neat thing. And then, of course, Friday is our winter concert. So one at 9:30 a.m., one at 1 o'clock p.m. And of course, shout out to the Tiger Palace. Awesome job, really awesome job. Can't say enough, so. That's it for the elementary.
Dr. Jones?
Okay, so in terms of special education, we are currently at 210 students in special education. We have 69 students with 504s. That is up 3 from the last report. The out-of-district number is holding at 25. In Bradley School, Wyndham County, we have a total of 22 students, of which 13 are Thompson students. We host to 6 other districts: Putnam, Killingly, Brooklyn, Plainfield, Sterling, and Stafford. The percent of special education is up to 23.39%. Right now, currently, we are using, which is the same as last month, 7 vehicles to transport 12 students to 7 off-site special education schools outside of Bradley School here. We have a PD opportunity for CT sets when we return on January 3rd. Thanks to Deb Spinelli, we had our first unified basketball practice today. And for open positions in special education at the high school, we are still hiring for a building level paraprofessional, a life skills paraprofessional at the middle school, a building level paraprofessional, and at the elementary school, a life skills paraprofessional and 2 one-on-one paraprofessionals.
Thank you. Mr. Stiglitz.
Wow, on that note, revised budget of 19.8 million is unchanged. Year-to-date spending and encumbrances are tracking very consistently with last year, with projected spending coming in at 19.2 million, or 97% of the budget, which is exactly where we were at this point last year. We currently have pupil services as the only department that is projected to operate in a deficit, estimated at approximately 1.2 million. That's before special ed excess cost, just to be clear. The 3 drivers, I feel like a broken record month after month, but it's tuition at 450,000, contracted pupil services at about 329,000, and transportation projected to be about $286,000 in the budget. I don't know if you had a chance to look at your packet, but the cafeteria report returned this month. As we define cafeteria performance, as we currently measure it, the cafeteria is running slightly better than break even, but I'd like to remind the board that that excludes benefit costs of approximately $12,000 per month. Just so I don't want to paint too rosy a picture, but on another note, they're doing some great work down there because they've actually received 3 different grants: Smart Funds, Supply Chain Assistance Funds, and Healthy Foods grants of about $20,000 a piece in just the last couple of months. So they're really out there beating the bushes, trying to get to find these opportunities to help fund the operations of the CAF. On another note, the annual cafeteria report was filed with the state. I know everybody gets excited about that, but that's something I had to do, so I figured I'd throw it in there. Audit update. Who doesn't love an audit update at Christmas time? Canyon King CPAs were in last week from Wednesday through Friday. They spent the first 2 days down at the town, and then they were up here at the school on Friday. Thank you to all 3 schools for excellent support, especially related to student activity funds. And even Spinelli got involved and came through big for me on this. So as far as I know, no exception on that testing. So that was great news. Any questions?
One quick question, Bill. I know we're all seeing in the news about the school funding or state funding, federal funding about free lunches, free breakfast and all that. Are we on track to at least get through this year without having to dip into any funds?
Melinda, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were trying to get at least through January, right? And then we were reassessing.
No, we were gonna try to get through till the end of the year before we started. And I think this is gonna be a budget discussion on whether or not we're gonna go back to, paid lunch for the middle and high school. Remember that the elementary is still on direct certification, so they have a couple more years of free lunch. And the breakfast program runs differently, but we are gonna have to have a conversation around that, because what we know is that the food service department doesn't cover all the expenses because of the benefit line. And, looking at it even now, doesn't look like it will ever be able to cover 100% of that. But we're gonna have to determine what percent it can cover. And then is it enough for us to be able to offer free lunch at the middle and high school level?
Have you heard anything on any of your superintendent calls? Any potential funding?
So
Or this gonna be
at the federal
reconsidered?
level, that dried up, right? And so one by one, you're hearing districts going back to, charging for lunches for their students. So, and I think a lot of us are trying to see if we could parlay the grant money through the end of the year to get us through this year. And let families know that, this is coming, and it's almost, what is it? Is it $4, Bill, at this point for a lunch? So times 5, times 2 kids, it starts to become costly. Then we're gonna run into that old problem, right? Where we have these unpaid lunch balances, and the board is gonna absorb them anyway, so.
I mean, it's a catch-22 because we've all heard, a student that obviously is hungry does not learn at the same rate as, if they're at least having a few square meals, because we also heard that some students haven't had real meals since they left on Friday when they come back on Monday. So,
And that whole other thing where districts were offering an alternate lunch, so then that was lunch shaming, because then everyone knew, right? What kid couldn't afford their lunch because they have a sun butter sandwich. So we did away with that. The board did away with that when I first came on board. But at the end of the day, we have to make the lunch program balance out. And so I think we're just gonna have to have those hard discussions, but we do know that there are students that are hungry, that do take advantage of those meals. And a lot of teachers have expressed concern about going back to the paid because they're worried about their kids.
When you say the end of the year, are you saying school year or calendar year?
June.
Okay, June, okay.
June. I'm hoping we can get to June. Bill will let us know along the way.
But regardless of what the board does, there's still the free and reduced lunch.
Correct.
That families that can't afford it, they'll still be able
That's
to,
right.
to get lunches. So,
but they still have to submit an application, right? Is that how
Right.
that's
They have to do it either way this year.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
That's a good.
And shouldn't they have already done, I know I filled out the one form, is that the same form?
Yes.
So everyone should have kind of filled that out by this point, so we should know how many are in what bucket, right?
Correct. We do
Okay.
know that.
Okay.
My understanding is it's more challenging than you would think to get everyone to complete that form.
Oh, I
Oh,
know, I
yeah.
bet, yeah.
So in the past, so we can just say that if you don't turn it in, then we're gonna have to start charging for lunch.
Right.
And usually we get them back, but Lisa is working on that.
Bill, if on, say, January 1, say we just ran out of funding, is there a pro forma that says what our exposure could be? Do we, and again, I'm not putting you on the spot, just,
I mean, I could take a look at some historical data to see about where we ended up in terms of what cost the district.
yeah.
Because to Melinda's point earlier, ultimately, even if the balances go unpaid, it comes home to roost.
Yeah, with us going into the budget workshops, we may want to put something there, just, account, just big question marks around it.
Right. All set?
Thanks, Bill.
Okay, Bill Birch is on vacation, so Heather, are you on Zoom?
Hi, good evening. Just a quick Power School update. Danette and I are continuing with our weekly meetings. We're inputting honor roll settings, bell schedules, calendars. We actually have a 3-day training coming up this week. So it's starting to get pretty intense and moving along nicely, which is good. As far as state reporting, we've submitted the address collection report last month, and this requires us to submit all student addresses to the state in order for them to mail out the pandemic electronic benefit transfer cards to the students, so that those families all receive their benefits. We completed the monthly attendance report, and we also met with phys ed teachers because the state is mandating how phys ed fitness test results are gathered and reported to them this year. They're collecting data on each individual student rather than just total numbers. So we met with the phys ed teachers and developed a good plan to get that data. We're also continuing to meet with several departments district-wide to improve content on the school website. We've met with the curriculum leaders and several leaders at the high school to get more student academic information posted up on our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Giamoriano.
Good evening. Dr. Jones has just spoken about our open jobs for the district currently. We filled our network tech help desk coordinator, our part-time network tech, and our high school science teacher in the last month. And I've been working on partnering with CIRAC to put forth a new initiative into our workplace for our employees, which is the recovery-friendly workplace. As we all know, the dependency culture has taken a toll on today's society. And we as employers need to ensure that our employees that are affected are supported in their workplace. This no way tells our employees that they can go against our company policies, but it gives them an opportunity for those who need help to be able to reach out to a specific person in our school system. It can be guided to professionals that can give them the help that they need. This recovery-friendly workplace, the partnership is in conjunction with the Connecticut Department of Labor, the Department of Health, and Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services. I am currently working on becoming the contact person for this initiative. I am working through multiple trainings that I have partnered with. And once I'm complete, our employees will know that they can come to someone if they are struggling with this awful, awful addiction. I also just want to say happy holidays.
Thank you. Ms. Brower.
I don't have a lot to say that people haven't already said. There's a lot of sick people right now. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Well, is it a?
It's flu.
It's
Most
the
of it's
flu, mostly the flu.
Yeah, flu and RSV. We still have some COVID floating around, but I'm not seeing at all as much COVID as the flu. The flu is getting everybody right now.
Flu, okay.
Anybody have any questions? Last week was pretty rough. I think this week is better.
Yeah, we were averaging about 60 students out in every school. There was a lot. And so kudos to the middle school for recognizing that the kids couldn't be here to celebrate. You hate to have a celebration and half of them not be here. So thank you for changing that.
Anything else? No.
I think it
Ms.
speaks for itself.
Spinelli.
What's happening in the wonderful world of athletics?
High school basketball opens on Friday. Boys are home against Lyman, girls are going to Norwich Tech. Indoor track also opens. They're going to be at Yukon Developmental Meet on Sunday. We don't have cheerleading up there. Middle school's been playing for 2 weeks now. Boys had their first win today, so they're all excited. What else? Oh, we're having a meeting on Thursday. The league has come up with a plan so that to try to encourage people to have proper behavior, parents as well as students. And we're trying to bring our student leaders in. We're meeting with them. First, we're meeting with all the winter team sports because those are usually the kids that show up for the games to support each other. And make them leaders in those groups sitting in the student sections to try to promote no names, no numbers, just doing general kind of cheers and try to promote that in the setting of a enclosed environment now, being outside, what we saw outside, we're trying to reel it in. Also, the league has got a statement that each team is going to read before, like a pledge, what they anticipate their sportsmanship on the floor at the beginning of the game, so we're going to go through all that. And also, we've all come up with, the whole league decided that they were going to follow the format of the music that was being, it's all vetted music through a diversity council that meets for the league, so that we have clean versions of what they're playing from one school to the next. And so our list has already been put together. I had both teams select their music, and Bryce has put it on a drive for me so we can jump it in depending if the girls warm up or the boys warm up. So we're going to be ready to go for Friday with that. And Hannah LeClaire made All-State for soccer.
Comments, questions? Okay. All right, now we are at old business and we have added the playground.
Right, I just wanted to confirm there was some confusion on our subcommittee for the playground for the repairs. Excuse me, on whether or not there is gonna need to be any site work done for the repairs itself, or if it's just doing just the repairs. And then that'll open.
So there has to be more surfacing put down.
Right.
But we don't, because to repair the structure, it's grandfathered in, right?
Right.
So we can bring it up to code.
Okay.
For $51,888. Basically, I've been busy trying to find some grants, and actually today, a former Turtelot student who now works for Verizon and actually is a retail owner in Verizon heard me on Winnie when Amy, thank you, Amy, invited me to be with her on Winnie, talk about the playground because it was on the board of Ed's agenda. And so she sponsored the grant. I wrote the grant and they called me today and we got the grant. But they have to donate the money to the PTO.
Okay.
So there'll be some logistical things, but I got the call today that we got $10,000 toward that. So that's good news.
All right.
So every little bit helps.
Yep.
The PTO did forward an opportunity to me to apply for a $50,000 T-Mobile grant. And then there's a Walmart community service grant, community grant out there that Bill is helping me get the right coding for so that I can apply for that. So I think if, we're successful, we might get the grant up, the playground upgrade to code, open it back up. And then the PTO really does feel compelled that we should have an ADA compliant playground, and they're working their energies to raise funding for that.
All right, yeah, the subcommittee just wanted clarification on if there needed to be any additional site work, even though it was just repairs. So I wanted to make that clear for them. And then on the high school weight room, is that up and open? Because I had a parent made a comment that students were not allowed to use it because they didn't have an adult available to open it and supervise. So I just wanted to confirm if that's been open.
So part of the Voice for Change grant project was that we hired a trainer, and the trainer is there when, Deb?
Tuesday, Thursdays.
Right
Okay.
after school.
Okay.
They cannot go in during the day if there's not an adult in there.
Okay.
But the trainer is there.
It's open to any students, and we advertised for it. Last week, our biggest number was 9 one day. So
Okay.
there's at least 2 there every day, but our biggest number so far has been 9.
Okay.
That's a former student, right? Right. Yeah.
Just.
Just came back from being in the army.
Yeah, and you sent me pictures I need to post, so thank you. We're now going to move on to new business, which is policy approvals. And we have a few to go through. Hope you all read them.
So they're all in our packets and working on these for a couple months now. And most of these are revisions to existing policies. And in the first one, bullying prevention and intervention, a lot of, it's mostly definition changes. And as you can see, there's strikeouts and underlines. So all of these policies were gone over with our lawyer and to bring them up to codes. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I'm not going to read through all the policies, obviously.
This one we did add mobile electronic devices, just to bring it up to current practices.
Correct. Any questions on this? This is the longest of the policies.
Questions?
Approve them individually.
Yeah, let's do that. It'll just be easier.
I will make a motion that we approve the revision of the bullying prevention and intervention policy.
I'll second it.
You're allowed to do that? Yep.
Okay. All in favor of approving the bullying prevention and intervention policy, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any opposition, say no. Abstentions, none. This policy is approved. The update to this policy is approved unanimously. Okay, this is a new.
The policy to improve completion rates for the free application for federal student aid, FAFSA form. So this is new and it's to encourage that completion of that form. Everybody needs to do it if you're going to go to college. It's pretty straightforward and I don't think it does not enumerate the steps that we're going to take to encourage it, but like I said, it's 3 paragraphs, pretty straightforward. Any questions on that?
Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept this policy.
Motion to accept the policy.
I will second that.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the policy to improve completion rate of, well, was there any discussion on this? No, pretty straightforward. Boilerplate, okay. I'll entertain a motion to, no, I did that already. All in favor of accepting the policy to improve completion rates of pre-application for federal student aid, otherwise known as FAFSA? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
So, okay. Okay. Now this one is the Pledge of Allegiance.
And the only change, this is a policy we already have on the books. It was brought up, the number changed. It went from 10-130C to 10-230C. So there's nothing really, it's allowing everybody to say the pledge and you're allowed to not say the pledge as long as you're not disruptive.
Motion?
Make a motion.
I will second it again.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting the revision to this policy J, Pledge of Allegiance, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Moving on, the drug and alcohol use by students.
Scott, on what, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth page of this policy, under number 5, it's,
I need to have a motion.
oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, now you can explain what we've done to this one.
Basically, it is putting cannabis on the same par as alcohol. That's the main change to this. So that's
it. And we added, because of the state changes and state law changes.
So it's the same discipline. If you have alcohol on, any alcohol related discipline, is the same as for cannabis related discipline.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting policy JFCIA, drug and alcohol use by students, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Next is the student dress code. I'll make a motion to accept JHCCC student dress code policy.
Second that.
Okay. Any discussion on this one? Explain some of the changes here.
Sure. It's defining protective hairstyles. And also restricting footwear that could damage the school in any way. And basically trying to eliminate hostile clothing. That's the crux of it.
And that protective hairstyle is in compliance with the federal law.
Correct. Questions?
Further comment, all in favor of accepting this student dress, JHCCC, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, passed unanimously. See the prohibition against smoking.
Private.
Oh, I missed that. I tossed it off already. We already accepted it. Okay, sorry. Okay, use of private technology devices by students, JICJA. Make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we adopt this revisions to private technology devices by students.
I'll second it. Okay. All right, any discussion on this one? Some discussion on this one.
So this is basically limiting the student use and access on campus to privately owned technology. And we also included basically updating it, not too many kids walk around with Walkman and CD players anymore. I don't know. So.
They have a Walkman. I want to see the value on that.
Yeah. Tom, you still have the BlackBerry?
I still have a BlackBerry. I do actually. I don't use it.
We did include drones to that, and I know that there is an ongoing student, is it a class or a student group that uses them, but that's it's as long as it's approved by the superintendent, it's allowed. So mainly it's just updating the technology listed on here. Any questions about that?
How does that work? Because I know we have the Chromebooks, but Aren't there some applications where students are still being asked to go to apps?
Yeah.
On their phone, so are they in violation? I mean,
They're not, as long as it's approved by the administration
within that class.
within that
basically.
class.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other question? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting use of private technology devices by student policy, file number JICIA, say aye.
Aye.
Rumors?
Aye.
Val?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It's unanimous.
And the smoking.
Now the smoking. Prohibition against smoking.
Motion to
on
accept.
JFCG.
Just make the motion.
Yes.
I will-
Discussion.
So this is updating smoking to include any electronic devices, any nicotine delivering service or other substances. And that's very straightforward, and updating the CGS statutes in there.
Any further discussion on this?
What's an example of a temporary temporary structure? I was trying to figure out, like, what would that be? Is that kind of like an offsite? If you're doing like a community awareness thing somewhere? I mean, I'm just trying to figure out what temporary meant.
Are you on the smoking one?
Oh, here.
No, yeah.
All temporary.
Yes, it's all
permits, the third
temporary and
line.
permanent, so I'm just, is that like?
Oh, okay.
Like if we do a community outreach, I mean, I'm just. That kind of where that comes in. All right.
Any further questions, discussion? Okay. All in favor of accepting this policy prohibition against smoking, its revisions, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Ages of attendance. Jeff.
I'll make a motion to accept JEB age of attendance policy.
I will second that.
Okay. Discussion.
Well, I just want to bring high school's attention and to the fact that as of July 1st, students currently can withdraw at 17 years of age. Now they have to be 18. That's the big change. That's the big change.
That's the main, so it takes a whole paragraph and whose control and whatnot it is, but that's the crux of that paragraph.
In my day, 16, you were out of there.
Yeah. So basically, you don't have to be a legal adult, just 17.
Oh, well, that's new. Okay, any further discussion? Obviously, I did not. Actually, I graduated at 16.
I'm still trying to learn English.
Okay, anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, all in favor of accepting ages of attendance? JEB, say aye.
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 Okay, that's unanimous. This is another new policy. Reporting to parents/guardians report cards.
I'll make a motion to accept the proposed new policy. report cards.
Oh, you seconded, I'm sorry. All right, discussion on this one.
So this was really just for parental information to make sure that everybody who needs to see the report card sees essentially what it is. Any questions about it? And are we working on the specifics of policies?
So we already have in
Yeah.
practice that the report cards are available on Tyler, and next year will be available on Power School. The high school has chosen to go back to the old-fashioned way of actually printing the report cards and handing them to the students and informing the parent that the student will be bringing home the report card. And that, I think, Dr. Mayo, has been well received by your families.
Yeah, very well. We did the Bosch reports this past term too.
So they can always see it online, but there is something to bringing that report card.
Oh, yeah. No, so we've always done this stuff, so this is just making it a policy.
Correct.
Do you have to sign it, bring it back?
Oh, what I do is I just send a message home of the things to let them know it's coming.
Yep.
And the reason why is because, last year I realized that we have a lot of families that are single parent families, parents are working around. So when they come home from work, they get tired, they may not want to sitting on the counter, they'll take a second to look at it.
Yep.
So it's opened up a lot of parent communication for us, especially.
I like seeing it there in front of me as opposed to having to go so many things online that have it there is great.
Further discussion, questions? Okay. I will put this to vote. All in favor of accepting this new policy and reporting to parents, guardians, report cards, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. That's that.
That's that. There are other policies in the student
Correct.
section still to go through.
Right.
So this is going to be an ongoing thing, but there were no emergency ones. Like we had that emergency one back in July. So it's just a matter of keeping up on this stuff. So it's going to be an ongoing thing. It's good that you opened this
Right.
up. And
We're just systematically going through and updating all our policies for needed revisions to comply with federal and state regulations. And we'll just go through every section. It's been a while because of the pandemic that we haven't done this.
Yep. Purge all record of Walkmans out of existence in policies.
Right. Okay, the next item on our agenda is the armed versus unarmed guards.
Is it on the front of that big stack, the stapled one?
No, I had a. Oh, well. Done some research on it, but I pretty much know what's going on. Armed versus unarmed guards, and as you know, we've had 2 meetings on this subject.
I think for purposes of discussion, you want a motion?
Oh, yes, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll make the motion, just got myself discombobulated here. Okay, for purposes of discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion, Kathleen.
A second.
And Heather seconds, okay. Okay, as you know, we've had 2 meetings. That was a committee pulled together by our first select person, Amy St. And there, the last meeting was on November 30th, which I attended and took notes, which apparently I left at home. But Melinda was there and Amy was there, and the outcome of that meeting was, and I had numbers written down and everything, but I remember, was that I felt the consensus of that meeting lent more towards getting a resident trooper that would be stationed at the town hall and would then be available to come up the hill to the school. And it was recognized that, and in research that I did also, that the primary focus should be on, Bill brought up this, the last meeting we had, securing the perimeter of the school. Money is better spent securing the perimeters, the doors, entry, not allowing entry into the school, minimizing the entry to the school. The resident trooper would be out in the community, helping both the school and the community. We already have a security force in the school that knows the children. They would be in contact with the resident trooper, who also would be out in the community getting to know the kids and the community. The cost, Woodstock Academy has 3 armed guards and 5 security officers. That costs between $300,000 and $400,000 a year to them. Brooklyn has a resident trooper. Now, a resident trooper, correct me if I'm wrong, Amy, if you're still on here with us, costs between 120,000 to 150,000.
Nope. This is Amy St. Ange. It was 130,000 to upwards of 210,000, depending on which trooper is assigned based on what step they're at. So basically their length of service.
Okay. So 130 to 210. And now Putnam has 3 armed guards. But they cost less because they're working with their police department. I forgot. Now see, I had that number written.
280,000.
180,000.
280.
280. Okay, 280 for.
That's for 1 school resource officer and 3 security officers.
Okay, 1 resource SRO and 3 security. So 1 is armed. Yeah, the
Based on my
SRO
notes
is
here, yeah.
armed and the 3 security, but they have a backup police department. Right. Which we don't have. Right.
Catherine?
Yes.
I've lived here for 20 years.
Yes.
When was the last time we had a resident state trooper? I believe we had one when I moved here, but
Yes, we
not
did.
long after.
We did, and we took it out of the budget because we had to cut something out of the budget.
But when was that? Do you does
Oh,
anybody know?
15 years ago or
Maybe
more.
maybe
Dave Babbitt.
Maybe 15 years.
Yeah, Dave Babbitt was
Officer
selected.
Aiello, I think was the last one we had.
Okay.
I don't know his name, but
Yeah.
Dave Babbitt was selected.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But if we could get a state trooper at the middle range, it would be. And I'm going to tell you right up front, I'm against armed police. One of the reasons is it just doesn't make for a warm, cozy feelings. That's one of the cons. It's risky to have an armed guard in the school. People, what research I did, the cons are it's risky. You could have an accidental shooting. Well, people are not, we are fallible. You could have a situation where somebody gets shot where they don't need to be shot. The pros are, I guess you feel safer if somebody's walking around with a gun. I typically wouldn't, but no. We as the Board of Education have to approve having an armed guard in our school before they go forward with that. That's what the motion is for. We have to approve having an armed guard.
So the motion is that we would approve an armed security guard?
Yeah.
Amy has her hand up.
I don't think that's the motion. I think it was a discussion and a consensus of what the board would like to, direction they would like to go in. And I'm not comfortable talking about security in public, but since this is only a overall discussion,
Well,
and there is a committee doing this, the committee itself needs to know which direction to go in. Should they put it in a budget for next year for a resident trooper? Knowing full well that if it's an officer in the building, the Board of Ed has to approve it.
right, but they have to have a town. Amy, can you guide us a little bit on this? Because we're supposed to have a town meeting with questions on, right?
Well, that was the intention, that eventually we would go to town meeting. From what I understood, what the Board of Education is tasked with is deciding whether or not you're going to approve having armed security. And I do want to point out that armed security doesn't mean that there are security guards with guns exposed in the school. Generally, from what I understand from the Woodstock model, is nobody knows who is the armed security officer. It is concealed. It's a concealed weapon. So it's not like there's guards walking around with guns that are exposed.
Right.
So I just thought I'd clarify that point. But I believe that the Board of Education at this juncture has to decide whether or not this is the direction that you would like to see the school going.
So if you're for having a resident trooper, we could say we're against having armed security, but for a resident trooper. Okay.
Right. And I felt attending that meeting, our head of security, Mr. Giat, and his spot, Larry Giat, I mean, the whole committee was pretty much leading in that direction. Go that way. Spend the money on one, as we have been doing, securing the building and not taking away from education of the kids. Yes, ma'am.
My question is, I remember in a previous discussion, I think I remember in a previous discussion that in a town without a police department, are we allowed to have?
Yes.
Okay, we are, okay.
Yeah,
That was-
they
thank you for that
would report
clarification.
to Troop D.
Okay, thank you.
So I think part of the committee that Kathleen and I sat on, and Amy, correct me if I'm wrong, the Putnam model was that they put out some questions to the voters. And one of the questions was, about armed security versus unarmed security. And so one of the conversations that the Board of Ed here has to have before any kind of questions go out to the community is that something that the Board of Ed is going to approve. If we put that question out to the community and asking, are you for or against armed or unarmed, it doesn't really matter on the funding end, but the Board of Ed is the deciding factor for making the decision as to whether or not they would be armed or unarmed, right? And so Amy wants to craft some questions for the community. The resident trooper, we found out some information from Brooklyn, which was very helpful about their relationship with the school department, not housed on school property, but the nice thing is you have the same person responding every time we have an incident up here. And they get to know the community, they get to know the school policy. So that's a plus in the plus column. You develop a relationship with that person. I think the general consensus was that we needed to take small steps toward improving the security program. And the first step, I think, that the members of that committee agreed with was that a resident trooper would be the most logical first step, although that has to go out to the community. Yes.
I think I was saying the same thing, giving the committee direction to go in. I'm not for armed security here, and I think a resident trooper would serve the whole town,
Yes.
not only the school, and being close by, and probably could have a satellite office here if he wanted. The last resident trooper we had worked very well with the entire school and with the town.
Yeah.
And I'm very much in favor of a school, a resident trooper, rather than looking at any kind of armed security in here. So my recommendation to, well, if we need a vote, I'd say no armed security here, but absolutely encourage and say, go after the resident trooper idea.
I agree with you.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm
Yes.
going to be very blunt how I feel. Parkland and Uvalde had armed security.
Exactly.
So I agree 100% with Bill. It's more important for the perimeter to be secure.
How many full-time on-site security staff do we have?
Three.
Three. All right.
So 3 during the day, 1 for the evening.
Thank you.
Yes, Heather.
So I'm on board with what Bill was saying, but I remember also what Greg was saying, the difference too between having a resident trooper that might be in the very close proximity of the school, accessible, versus having an armed person here is that they don't have dispatch. Armed security guard would not have dispatch direct to the police force to then get them here. Whereas a trooper that might be right down the hill does have the ability to get dispatch. They'll be here, eyes on the ground, and can move the process much quicker than just having an armed security guard. And I thought that was kind of an important differentiation between the two as well, which just makes me want the resident trooper more.
Okay. So that's what we're going,
Just playing off of what
Mhm.
Heather just said, Amy, this is, maybe goes out for yourself in the town. With us having, I think it's 52 square miles, not counting the number of road miles. Has there been any further discussion about having our constables or having a constable force deputized? Because when we did have a situation like this before, we did have a resident trooper and we had 6 deputized constables. We actually had a force of 7. Has that been ever discussed or brought up again?
It has not. I'm sorry, Tom. When we had conversation with Lieutenant Haglund from Troop D, that didn't seem to be an option in our discussion with him. It's sort of like, I mean, Killingly has sort of a pseudo police force because they had resident troopers and they eventually built into this Killingly police force. But I don't know that that's necessarily an option.
Yeah, just, I mean, we all have friends that are troopers, and I know that it's come up a few times in discussion with myself and troopers that they just said, why don't you guys bring back your constable force, which only helps us in response time as well as ears on the ground. And it's
Right.
a bit of a cheaper, not cheaper, sorry, wrong word, a more cost-effective way of having some law enforcement presence on a daily basis.
Well, I don't think it's really an option. I mean, are you looking to pay the constables to be deputized? Because I don't believe that people will, I don't think people are generally going to be interested in serving voluntarily.
And Amy, I don't know the answer to that because I don't I mean, I was a kid back then when the programs were in place. But I remember having, like I said, 6 or 7 constables. I remember getting 2 speeding tickets from those constables.
Yeah, but I don't think that what you're saying is a viable option at this juncture. I really don't. I mean, I'll look at it a little bit more, but in
Yeah.
our conversation with Lieutenant Haglund, arrest powers, they really would have to go through all of the training at the police academy.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you know,
It's a bigger role than just somebody like when we were younger.
Agreed. I just want to make sure that if we get asked the questions, we have the answers to be able to tell them that here's the reason why we're not going with the constable force. That's all.
Well, I do know that Steve Benoit, our emergency management director, recently had a meeting with the constables and posed a question of sort of a volunteer force to assist the school. And I will look back at the email and I will forward it to you. But Steve said that they were not interested in volunteering their services.
All right, well, that's good to know. Maybe they shouldn't be constables, but but that's good. All right, thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
So what I'm gathering is that this board does not have an appetite for armed guards on the premises. So we can pass that. We do support a resident trooper, but we don't have an appetite for armed guards on the school premises.
You don't think that we should be putting that out to the public for the public to make a decision on that?
Pardon me?
We don't think that we should be putting it out to the public for the public to make a decision?
It's our
You don't.
decision.
It's our decision.
It's our
The
decision
board
to
has
make.
to decide that. It's our decision to make.
And why have Amy go out and bring out questions about armed security if we're ultimately going to say no anyway?
But Putnam had 2 questions. The 2
Right, if the
questions-
first one didn't pass, then the
Right,
second
but
one.
we already have a security force. The second one, we already have it. So we wouldn't even bother to ask that. What we would ask would be the resident trooper, but we don't want armed guards. We've already said we don't want an armed guard on the premises. We want we want the resident trooper.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but you don't have to make a decision now about that, right?
No, but if you want to give the first selectman and second selectman who's here,
Yeah.
direction, which way to go, that's the way we want to go.
That's the way we want to go. We have no appetite for an armed guard, nor do we have an appetite for metal detectors.
Can I add in just real quick? I did see in the news today, and I thought that was pretty interesting that it was today that I saw this. There's a small town that does not have armed guards, but they do send live feeds to their resident state trooper. So the resident state trooper in his office has school live feeds. So I don't know if that's something that we can also look into or tap into as just an extra possibility, ease of mind for some parents that may wonder what access the resident state trooper visually may have in the school when he's not in the school. I just thought that was a really good idea, and I just wanted to bring that to the meeting tonight. And also with the Woodstock model, I just want just everybody that's listening in to know that it's not Woodstock Public Schools that's funding that. That's Woodstock Academy. Actually, Woodstock Public Schools do not have armed security. Woodstock Academy does.
Well, the Woodstock Academy does float their security guys through the Woodstock middle school and elementary on a rotating basis. They provide that service.
Okay.
Yeah.
Danielle, into your comment, Troop D does have access to our camera system now. So if there were an issue that they needed to get into the camera system, they can do so remotely from their barracks.
That's great. Great information to get out there too.
Kathleen, there was a motion and a second on the floor. Should it be taken back?
Well,
Well, there's a motion to discuss.
To discuss. We're not gonna vote. We're gonna recommend to the first selectman that we go for the resident trooper.
But we didn't vote on saying to discuss.
Okay.
So should they take
What
it
was the
back? or-
motion? Take down the motion?
For purposes of discussion.
For purposes of discussion, to recommend. That was the motion.
But we didn't vote on it. You can't have a
Okay, you want to
motion.
vote? Okay, the vote is to recommend. Well, for purposes of
That's why I said
discussion.
they could just take it back.
Okay. Okay, well, let's have another
Well,
motion.
you want to
then.
make it official, I'll make a motion that we recommend to the selectmen, the Board of Education recommends us a resident trooper and not, and make it clear, not on security at the school.
I would second that.
Okay.
But we had to vote on the other motion first before we could do a new motion.
I'll make a motion to close the discussion.
All right, that's now
I'll
three
second that.
motions.
No. That's, we closed the discussion. The motion was to discuss. She made now a motion to close the discussion. Second it,
I seconded it already.
okay? All in favor of closing the discussion?
Aye.
Aye.
Val?
Sure it's-
We lost Val. Val?
Keep going in and out with my internet.
Oh.
Sorry
Okay,
about that.
okay, we're closing, trying to close the discussion.
Yep.
Okay, that's unanimous. Now, we have a motion again on the floor to recommend.
To the first selectman of the Board of Education, that they investigate a resident trooper as, and not armed security in the school.
Okay,
And I seconded that.
in a second. Okay, you've already discussed it, so, all right, all in favor of recommending the resident trooper and no arm, and rather than armed security at the school to the Board of Selectmen, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, Amy?
Got it.
Thank you. Okay, we have a letter from Teague. Dear friends, this was dated October 25th. Thank you for your contribution of $1,964 from the Students Homeless Awareness Fundraiser. The staff at Teague are grateful for all donations that we receive and want you to know that residents who live in our local community will benefit from your generosity. Teague is fortunate to have the support from your community members like you, people who think beyond their own needs, to offer a hand to a neighbor. It is because of your thoughtful kindness that Teague is able to carry out our mission of empowering those we serve in order to create better futures. Thank you for supporting the work that we do. It really does take all of us working together to create a caring community. On behalf of the staff, board of directors, and those we serve, with gratitude, Ann Miller, Executive Director. Okay, citizens' comments? Any citizens' comments at this point? Anybody on Zoom want to make a comment? Hearing none, I'll call for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.